from Slovakia. I was born here. Although I left quite early to high school. I have a degree in sculpture from Hungary, and then I did postgraduate studies in Cologne in Germany. And from there, I've been traveling a lot. My partner is from the States, and we lived in Hong Kong for 4 years. I wanted to tell you because the piece that I'm presenting here is kind of encapsulating that period a little bit. Like, I started this piece in Hong Kong. I work with sound. I've been working with sound for about 15 years now, although, as I just said, my background is as well as in sculpture, but when I started studying sculpture, I was very interested in how sound and space correlate. I kind of have this divided practice where sometimes I'm making installations that they may be spatial, and some of them are also sound-based. Relates to my practice that we, as human beings, getting very used to be around data. Like, we understand, and we more or less understand, and we know that data it influence our life very much. For me, what kind of connects arts and media studies and also sculpture is that they all work in scale. So what I'm really interested in sound and as well in installation is space and also scale. Like how just simple numbers, now I'm thinking of very simple data values, which obviously have some meanings. They could be scaled up to be represented as sound. And scalability is also kind of an aspect of sculpture, if you think that is kind of important for the media, in terms of the medium. The project I will present here tonight, also titled "The Sky Bends Dark," kind of comes out with the experience of a typhoon, which is a severe weather event. And in 2018, there was this typhoon that's called Mangkhut, and I recorded the sound of this typhoon from a room where I lived in the South Island of Hong Kong. And since that beginning of that recording, I was trying to find the different ways how I can present this to sort of audience. So again, I'm kind of concerned here with multiple things. It's not only the sound of the typhoon that's being presented in this performance, but also weather data, which I collected from the Hong Kong Observatory. They collect their own weather data and they share it with the public. But I also worked with someone from this organization, and they shared multiple measurements they took during the typhoon. This data, essentially what it does, it affects the spectrum of the sound recording in multiple ways. So what I mean, it affects algorithmically. It changes the sound spectrum. It changes how much of the frequency spectrum of the original recording you can hear. What people actually hear is only one single channel recording, which is filtered. It's a data of sunshine hours and how intensely the sun was generating heat in an environment is determining which pitch you hear from that soundscape. I've been working with audio filters for a really long time, and I created a program or an instrument more or less, where this data is affecting these spectral characteristics of the original soundscape. Also spatialize it, separates certain part from the spectrum, and these certain parts, they are all individually routed only one audio speaker. And the speakers, we use 4 speakers in this piece. So what my idea was to kind of situate the audience around the four speakers, so they can also, maybe they can also walk around, but kind of sit inside of the soundscape. In terms of narrative elements, in this case, data gives you a very simple story. I used data of the sun intensity. The 2 meanings that people can gather from this data right now, at least in this installation, is the temporality of this process, that I allocated 2 dates, the date of when the typhoon happened, and the end date when was a significant date in the 2019 Hong Kong protests, and the days between these 2 significant days are the timeline of the performance. So this is already give you a story, because the beginning of the performance starts with the typhoon, and the end of the performance starts with the first day of one of the first days of the Hong Kong protests. Working with data generally is challenging, because if you think about data, and in terms of its abundance, that it's almost everywhere. I like to think of it, it's almost like air molecules around you, it's everywhere. It's more like an infrastructure around you. In the meantime, you don't see it, right? It always thought to be, or it's always balanced between to be a universal thing that's abundant, available to download, anybody can access to it. But in the meantime, it is very specific, very local thing. So now I'm kind of trying to think a lot about the emotional connection to data. What I'm trying to do is to make it visible. And in this case, I'm not using visuals to visualize it, but using sound to visualize it. By not using like visual proprioception, but bodily connection by experiencing this sound, which is not only sonic but also physical. I like to think about it that I'm making it physical, or I'm making it spatially available, and I think that's where we kind of turn back to the beginning, and you start to think of it as sculptural and sonic, where the sculpture and sound kind of meets.